Okay, so first question, would you like to tell us why you want to run for city council?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in giving back to the community best I can with the skills that I have. I have been trying to give back over the past decade or so. I've been on the Sierra Madre Community Foundation. I'm actually the president of the foundation currently, which is a charity that's devoted to enhancing the quality of life here in Sierra Madre. I have been the Cub Master at PAC 110, and I'm on the troop committee of Troop 110. I've been managing or coaching Little League Baseball for the past 7 years. I've been on a couple committees appointed by the current city council, or back then it was the current city council. Some of the current city council members are still serving. But I think it's important, especially in a community such as Sierra Madre. So much of what we have that is nice is done by volunteers. So it's kind of up to us to make this city great. And I feel it's my turn to step up and serve on the city council in order to maintain or even enhance all the great things that we have here in town.
So you feel like this was sort of like a natural extension of what you had already been doing before?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it kind of is. It kind of flowed into this. I do have 3 children that aren't very old, so I wanted to wait a little bit longer. Yeah. But it seemed as though nobody else was stepping up at the time. And then I stepped up, and then so did a whole bunch of other candidates. So, which is good for the process. It's good to have other candidates, rather than just 1 or 2 just kind of sliding in there. It's good for the process. It's good for the electorate to be able to ask questions and get to know the candidates and have a diversity of candidates. It's really a good, healthy thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. We also wanted to sort of talk about Sierra Madre's response to COVID, and sort of see what your perspective is on what Sierra Madre has already done, and if there's anything that if you were in a city council position previously, if there was anything that you would have changed to the response, or anything that you would change going forward.
Yeah, I think this response has been pretty good. So we're bound by, laws upon laws pile on top of us here in Sierra Madre. So we're bound by the laws of the state of California. And then further, we're bound by the laws of the Los Angeles County Health Department. Pasadena and Long Beach are 2 cities within LA that have their own health departments. So they have different rules, but we're bound by what the LA County says. So there are a lot of rules that we need to follow and we had to follow. But I think the current council did a very good job with the what was it called? Sierra Madre Cares initiative, where they did get some funds and they were able to quickly help some of the restaurants that were closed get some outdoor dining. It took away some parking spots, but I think at the end of the day that's not a horrible thing, especially that we could support our businesses, because the last thing we want is a turnover of these wonderful businesses that we've had in town for decades. I think that response went well. It all went pretty well. I mean, there's a differences of opinions within the individuals that live here, regarding our cyclists coming through wearing masks or not. That some people were taken back by that, but there's ways to avoid them on Saturday mornings in Kirsten Court, if you're one of those high risk groups. But I believe that we did a pretty good job. Our council and our city manager did a very good job of trying to keep the local businesses in business best they can. Unfortunately, I know you guys are too young, but a place like the Buccaneer is not open, and I would be very happy if that institution was open. And I feel for those business owners that have been here for so long. The brewery's finally opening due to some restrictions that our county board of supervisors said breweries and wineries can open, but still taverns or bars cannot, which is unfortunate, because that's a place that a lot of people like to gather and discuss, city issues. So I understand why, but they had an outdoor option, which would have gone well, and it's unfortunate. Nothing that the city could have done. It's really kind of based on the laws of the overarching organizations. So yeah, I think we've done a good job in the response. And I think we did probably as well as we could given the circumstance. Overnight parking tickets were there's a moratorium on that, so you could park overnight in front of your house if you were normally at college in a dorm and now you're home and you can park out there, which I think was fortunate.
Could you also sort of just sort of like a tangentially related topic of businesses closing in Sierra Madre, especially due to COVID-19? You touched on that for a second. If you could sort of like maybe talk about anything that you would do or things that can be done to be able to sort of help that stop, because we sort of have a lot of revolving businesses in Sierra Madre, a lot of closing, and also preventing longstanding businesses, as you said before, from closing down due to COVID, just because of lower attendance and sales and things like that.
Can you repeat the first part of that question? I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. So if you could sort of talk about the issue of businesses closing down and sort of a revolving door of different businesses in Sierra Madre, sort of also related to COVID.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we've had that issue prior to COVID, some businesses coming and going. And I don't know how much you know about me, but I'm an economist and I teach finance at Cal Poly Pomona. So, the way we vote as consumers is with our dollars. So obviously if there's a revolving door kind of business going on, it might be beyond the business, and it's not for us as a city council. It's really up to us as citizens to decide whether or not a business survives in normal times, normal circumstances. Yeah. But what I do feel is that good businesses coming here, it has been sometimes prohibitive for them to start or even move because of some of the rules and laws that we have in our city ordinances. I can give one example. It used to be Ballet by Amy, was on Mount Montecito, and then it became the Sierra Madre Dance Center. And they had an operating business, but for them to move to a larger location, there were all kinds of hoops that they had to jump through. An already existing business in town, and that's unfortunate. And some of us residents spoke with city management, and actually city management was very receptive, and they helped that business along best they could within the scope of the law. So one thing that we could do better, like per my example, is that we could have a little less regulation on the business, and then ultimately leave it up to the citizens of Sierra Madre by voting with their dollars whether or not they want a business to survive. COVID really is a whole different story. The federal government has been trying to help with some dollars that are either loans or forgiven loans and things of that nature. But hopefully we don't lose too many more.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A lot of your platform seems to be about maintaining what's already great about Sierra Madre. So what do you think sets you apart from the rest of the candidates?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, a lot of that is based on, a lot of my platform is based on continuing what we already have. Yeah. I think what sets me apart is the fact that I'm an economist, and the fact that I look at things in different ways. And I think that's what the city council kind of saw when I was the chair of a special revenue committee. I like to look at issues, and we always, in Econ 101 or whatever you take, we say there's a paradigm shift on the way of thinking. So you used to think one way, and a good economics professor will get you to kind of look at things in different ways. Look at things in terms of opportunity cost, which is something you already do without realizing it, but really actually thinking about those issues outside of your own personal decisions, and then taking those decisions and then looking at policy, public policy or city policy, and make decisions based on those types of things. So, I think I bring something different to the table. I am not, I do teach finance, but I'm not a financial advisor or a stockbroker. I used to be an equities trader. But, the thing is, a lot of people with finance backgrounds tend to really just, want to make a lot of money. So public service isn't something that's always in the forefront of somebody with a finance background. And I think since there is a premium on earnings regarding people in those businesses, we should give back. And I am working as a forensic economist, and I have capacity to move my schedule around such. So I think that I am bringing something that the city council hasn't had as far as the way I think about things. And at the end of the day, we're making decisions regarding taxpayer dollars and whether or not we purchase something or sell something, keep something, finance something. How do you finance it? Instead of relying on city management to tell us, I think I can speak to those things by doing my own financial modeling and saying, okay, here's the cost and here are the benefits, and here are the different options, and how are we going to go about that? But I also feel that I have, some of the other candidates have lived here a while, but my in-laws have been here a very long time, and I do have a kind of in touch with the history of Sierra Madre and what people want, and you have to kind of balance it with the wants and needs and expectations of the people that live here, all the services they want versus the spending. So I feel like I bring that little extra to the table, keep going forward in a good way, keeping our finances in check, which our city manager has been doing very well. We've been reducing our liabilities, which is a good thing, and we've been increasing in. There's a report called the Morlock report that looks at your liabilities relative to your assets that are unrestricted, and we've been increasing, getting better and better, meaning more financially sound. When our neighbors like Monrovia, Arcadia, Pasadena are in the red, we're in the black. They're in the red in this report, and they're actually dropping positions year over year. So we're doing very well relative to our neighbors. And to answer your question, that's the type of thinking and things that I can bring to the table. And I think for my tenure on the city council, I can bring something that hopefully sets us up and has us in a financially sound position on a go forward basis.
Thank you. So Colin and I have noticed that many citizens on the ever positive Sierra Madre Facebook page have made numerous complaints about leaf blowers. If you were elected to be one of the city council members, would you impose a citywide leaf blower ban, as well as a ban on any and all loud noises?
Especially bagpipes, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been working at home for the past 6 months now, right? And leaf blowers. I don't know if it's a noise ordinance thing or the dust. I've talked to a lot of people, and they don't like leaf blowers. But you can't use water to hose down your driveway either. So what do you do, right? You sweep. That takes forever. But it's good fitness. The thing about a city council is we'll be 5 individuals voting, and there has to be a majority vote on most of those things. So I couldn't myself say I'd like to ban leaf blowers. I would have to look into that a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I can see some of the complaints, like everyone's lawns have now died, and now you're blowing dust all over the neighborhood. Probably not good for air quality, and the noise pollution. It doesn't bother me so much. I have 3 kids, so I got a lot of noise pollution right inside my house. So it's one of those things, right?
We'll be definitely looking out for that vote coming soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Hold me to it.
There's been talk that for the 2022, possibly putting a ballot for building a new library. Is that something, if it happened right now, would you be in support of that, or would you feel like we should just repair the building we already have?
Well, you guys have done your homework. Great question.
Thank you.
So there's a couple of moving parts here, right? That ballot initiative was going to be put on the ballot for 2020, and COVID hit. There was a foundation that was set up by some a couple former mayors in town, board of trustees for the library. And what their goal was was to finally get something on the ballot and raise some funds privately to offset some of the public costs. So at the end of the day, as a city council member, yes, I have things, I have my own lens and I have my own opinions, but I really am there to be the voice of the residents. And if the residents at the end of the day say, hey, this is what we want, I would absolutely support that, because the residents realize it's not free. So it would have to be paid for. And yeah, it would be amazing to have a brand new state-of-the-art library. But it's really up to the residents, not me. But I support the residents in whatever they want to do as being a fellow resident. I would love that. I've got 3 children, and you know, I'm hearing all kinds of ideas regarding that. And what has to happen for sure, and this is kind of the things I've been talking about, is that we've ignored our maintenance on our assets way too long. And that's why we have pipes bursting all over the place, which we're fixing. Which is why this whole library thing is even really an issue to talk about, because there's a lot of deferred maintenance that's going to cost a lot of money. And the question is, okay, do we fix up a library that's already outlived its useful life as far as assets are concerned? But we know buildings can last for a long time. My home was built in 1921, and there's all kinds of old buildings in town, and they could be retrofitted and repaired. So either way, I think at the end of the day, we need to have a library, because we're a full service city. And I think we should continue to have a library. And actually it's legally, we can't get rid of it anyway. We need to keep it in one form or another. And yeah, I support, it sounds like a politician's response, right? I support what people want, but it's true. I mean, I think that I know that that's the job. So I'll make sure that we think about this carefully and look at all other options and consider, because back to opportunity costs, right? What is the next best alternative? If we're going to spend our money on here and we only have a certain amount of money, we now have to forego the net benefit of our next best alternative. So we want to make sure that we're thinking in those terms.
And then just another question. Do you think you're prepared to deal with the paparazzi that comes with the job? Yeah,
well, I've had to deal with that a little bit in my youth, right? Not really. Yeah, thankfully there's, you know, I have some bodyguards, a 12-year-old son and a 10-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. I have 2 dogs that are vicious at the fence. They're the biggest guards ever. But I think they will do a good job of keeping those photogs out of my yard.
That's good. Cool. That's very good.
We just have one final question for you. We wanted to sort of get your opinion, because many of our viewers are first-time voters. What is sort of the best way for a lot of young first-time voters to really be informed about elections such as like the city council election, which sort of are not getting nearly as much coverage as some of the more national issues?
Yeah, another great question. What I will say is that a function of COVID has actually forced these candidate forums into a different type of format. So it used to be on Tuesday, a month before the election for city council, you'd have to take off work or school, go down to the lodge there on Sierra Madre Boulevard for the Kiwanis meeting, and sit in there and listen to the candidates. And that's, you know, it's not the best for working individuals or students. But what I would say is that now, since we have been, that wasn't an option, we actually have set up 2 candidate forums, and we've already done those. And we sat at the band shell over in Memorial Park. I saw one of your videos over in Memorial Park on your Instagram. So same place, we all set up there. The city actually facilitated the filming of this. We had a moderator, the editor of the Mountain Views News. She moderated both these events, and then they were broadcast on Channel 3 and they were recorded. So there are options to go through and watch a whole bunch of boring old people talk for like 2 hours. But the questions were good, and I think the answers from the candidates are very enlightening. I have a couple votes that aside from myself, that I have to make too. So I thought it was very edifying for me to hear the other candidates for the 4-year seats speak to their opinions on issues, because I know some of them personally, but then to hear them on issues, that's a whole different issue. So there are resources out there. We have candidate statements. Those are in the sample ballot. You can read those. I would say those are important. And then, beyond city council, there's some ballot measures that are very important. And within the sample ballots, there's the argument for, the argument against. Of course, those are the people with vested interests that are speaking on those. But then there's generally the fiscal impact on those issues. And a lot of times with city elections, there's also the city attorney will give like an unbiased opinion as to what will happen. So there's literature out there that comes to you in the mail. Political mail, I've sent some in the past with a couple ballot measures, which we try to articulate the truth best we can, but it's not always. Sometimes there is a reason political mail is being mailed, especially for ballot measures. So I would say ask the questions of people that have been doing the work, try to get objectivity on these things, and vote with your brain on all these things. So hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate you being on. Yeah, it was lovely to have you and being on our first episode of the special election edition of CO2.
My pleasure. And it's so important to get out there and vote. I'm excited that you guys are doing this because I know you've got like 300 followers, right? At least over 300 followers.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And that's good, and especially if they're all first-time young voters. You guys are all getting a ballot mailed to you. So I already got mine yesterday. So there's now no excuse, right?
Yeah.
And then the polls will be open too for like at the Church of the Ascension here in Sierra Madre for 3 or 4 days prior to the election. There's early voting if you want to go down in person and either drop off your ballot or vote in person. It's all there. So you guys are doing a great job. I thought there'd be more jokes, to be honest. But this was a pleasure, and I love the format. And I love what you're doing, especially the boredom of being stuck at home with COVID, right? COVID restrictions. Yeah. So keep up the good work, guys.
It was great talking to you. Thank you so much.
You too. Take care. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.